For those of you who are into power rankings, your SEC Eastern Division rankings probably need to be revised because most people liked Florida as at least the second best team in the division, and Kentucky certainly took care of that for at least the time being with a big home win over the Gators on a Saturday night. So the Cats are 5-0. They've got another big one against LSU coming up this weekend. We got Kevin McGuffey on the line, as we always do, to talk up the Cats. Kevin, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Mark. It's a great time to be a Kentucky football fan right now. Coming off that incredible high, whatever you want to call it, from Saturday, beating Florida, first time since 1986. Like I said, to date myself, I think I said when we talked in the preview, I was a junior in high school, and I was at the game with my dad the last time that Kentucky beat Florida at home, and it was just. Of course, in true Kentucky fashion, we had to sweat it out. And especially in that fourth quarter where we're all sitting there like, oh, no, here we go. The turnover and then, give them the ball back. It's like, okay, this is the point where they're going to tie it up because it's always in the fourth quarter and it's always in that one end zone where everything happens. And then, you had that before that, you had the blocked field goal. And then Jacquez Jones knocked down that pass and Kentucky got that win. And they were out on State Street here in Lexington burning couches like we'd won a basketball national championship. So.
I was going to ask you, Kevin, what the condition of Lexington was in at this point.
It was pretty crazy. Our TV station here, we had a lot of video of lots of screaming, lots of I don't know what debauchery, for lack of a better word. That might not be the right word, but anyway, like I said, people were burning. I never understood the whole thing about burning couches, what that means, but that's become like a Kentucky thing whenever we do something successful up here. So that's what, and that's what happened on Saturday night, and had a sellout crowd last week, and another back-to-back sellout crowds for the LSU game this week. So. And the crowd played a big part of it. If you saw, Florida had 8 false start penalties, and I think a lot of that had to do with the noise in Kroger Field. So, when they want to get loud, they can get loud there.
Now, the fans can do whatever they want. They can celebrate this for 8 days if they want to. But, of course, the football team's another deal. Typically what you hear out of the coaches' mouths these days is celebrate for 24 hours, and then we don't want to hear another word about it, because we need to get on to the next game, the next mission, because it's going to be a challenging one despite LSU's issues. Of course, very talented roster coming to Lexington, and not that the Florida game would be undone by a loss here against LSU, but Kentucky not necessarily used to this kind of prosperity, and now they've got to stack those wins on top of each other against quality teams.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And the thing about it is Kentucky is a 3-point favorite, I believe, or 3.5-point favorite. The last thing I saw, and I can't ever remember Kentucky being favored like that. And also just a couple other things. Kentucky's going for their first 6-0 start since 1950. That was the year with Bear Bryant where they eventually won 11-1 and were awarded the national championship later on. And another fun stat, because anybody that reads the things that I do, I'm a big love numbers. This is the first time ever that Kentucky's played LSU where Kentucky's been ranked and LSU has not. So this will be the 57th time they've met. It's the first time Kentucky's ever been ranked and LSU's not been ranked. And Kentucky's only been ranked 3 times before. So there you go. So there's some fun with numbers for you. But yes, you got to if they win this game, you got to think they're probably looking maybe knocking on the top 10 in the official rankings, we'll say, and heading into that huge game with Georgia, and it'll be just like 4 years ago where Kentucky and Georgia are playing for the SEC East Championship, and it is always kind of weird to say that, but it just shows how far this program has come under Mark Stoops in the last few years.
So not necessarily the rankings that make sense,
right?
But
not like
rankings, those official rankings or so-called official rankings that obviously nowadays get trumped by the College Football Playoff Selection Committee anyway. So nobody's rankings really make a whole lot of sense or mean anything until those 13 people come out with their decision each and every week. But we're a few weeks away from that. But for right now, Kentucky looking like a top 10 football team to me. But 5-0 taking on LSU, and I enjoy hearing the stats and the numbers and the last time this or that happened. So you can't bring enough of those to the table for me. So I'm good with that.
Cool.
We do have a few injuries to get through too. One involving a playmaker and one involving your nose guard.
Yeah. So two things that happened came out of the Florida game. Marquand McCall, the big, 340-pound nose guard for Kentucky, suffered an ankle injury against Florida, and the coaches said that he's going to be out probably 5 to 6 weeks. So it is big loss there. But you've got Josiah Hayes and Justin Rogers, who's the former who Rogers probably had his best game of his career last Saturday against Florida. So it's always that, using the coach speak, that next man up thing. So those guys will be filling in his absence. And as I said, Rogers both of them played really well the other night. And then on the offensive side of the ball, Josh Ali also has an injury, and they're expecting, he's Kentucky's second leading receiver, of course, behind Wan'Dale Robinson, and they're expecting him to be out a couple weeks. Probably will miss this week, the Georgia game, and then they have a bye week, and they're hoping to have him back for Mississippi State, which will be the end of October there, Halloween weekend.
And if I remember correctly, Justin Rogers was a big recruit out of Michigan, correct?
Yeah, I believe he was 5-star. I think at the time he was the biggest, the highest rated recruit Kentucky had ever gotten, depending on which scouting service that you've, which scouting service you go by. But yeah, no, he was a huge pickup. Former secondary coach Steve Clinkscale had got this pipeline. Vince Marrow has, got the pipeline going to Ohio, and then Clinkscale expanded it up into Michigan. Of course, now he is actually an assistant at Michigan State. And so he's trying to close that pipeline and keep those, keep those great players out of that state from coming to Kentucky. So, but yeah, I know Rogers is one of the bigger recruiting gets that Kentucky's had a couple years ago. And he's had some good, he's kind of been up and down. But like I said, last week he probably had his best game that he's had in his career against Florida.
Folks, please like the video, share the video out on social media, because if you enjoy the content, I'm thinking others will as well. So share the video, and please subscribe right here at the Voice of College Football SEC. Join Kevin's work there at the Last Word on College Football. So Kevin's got a preview on LSU and Kentucky, a little bit of a deeper dive than what we provide here. So join Kevin, the rest of the staff there at Last Word on College Football. So I watched the game against Florida. And so the numbers don't surprise me here. 47 plays run by the Kentucky offense and 71 on the Florida side. I don't know if that's sustainable. I don't know if that's the formula you want week in, week out. So you might want to keep the ball a little bit more this week and maybe throw more than 17 passes. I don't know. But if the run game's effective, and we know that Kentucky will ram it straight ahead, if that's working, then LSU's given up some yardage on the ground. So we'll see what kind of game this turns out to be. But Kentucky they've got an identity, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. And I said, the first two, that's actually one of the things I talked about in my preview. The first 2 weeks of the season, Kentucky went for over 500 yards against both Louisiana Monroe and Missouri. And then the last 3 games, they've struggled for, whatever reason. A lot of it has been turnovers. We've talked about that. They only had the one against Florida, which was better, obviously. But, Will Levis and the receivers have been a little off. There's been, missed blocks, just breakdowns all over. And honestly, the defense, Brad White, the defensive coordinator, is that defense has kind of saved them, these last few weeks. You think about the Tyrell Asian interception and return that sealed the Chattanooga game. All the time South Carolina had the ball and kept them out of the end zone. And then last week, the blocked field goal and the tip pass in the end zone. But as you said, Kentucky, they just need. Liam Cohen said in the press conference this week that. It says we're really close. It's like, we're really close to hitting on all cylinders. We just had things here and things there. And when we finally do, it's going to be really, really impressive to watch. And so all of us in the Big Blue Nation are just kind of sitting here waiting for that to happen. So, but as you said, you look for a steady dose of Chris Rodriguez on Saturday. Cavassier Smoke as well. And then another thing, as you said, LSU is going to be without two of their top defensive guys, Derek Stingley and Major Burns, who are out. Stingley, I think, maybe they think is out for the season, possibly. And you would think if Kentucky, and looking at the stats, LSU is at the bottom in passing yards given up, which, considering the amount of talent that they have in that secondary, was kind of like a wow. It's like, what, did not expect that. So in theory, even though Kentucky's not going to have Ali, you might think this might be the week where they'll try to air it out a little bit, get Robinson involved in the offense even more than he is. I mean, he leads the SEC in receiving yards. And of course, Keishawn Butte from LSU is second, and that's obviously the guy, along with Max Johnson, Kentucky's going to have to stop. But as I said, you look for – I think this could be a game where maybe this is the game where it all clicks with Levis and the receivers, tight ends, even throwing out of the backfield. So, just basing it on, if you go by stats, this looks like a game where Kentucky maybe can kind of get things in sync again.
Butte with another big night against Auburn, 6 catches for 127 yards and a touchdown. And it's hard to be mad at the quarterback when the team's 5-0, but are people pretty satisfied with Will Levis's play, regardless of the numbers on Saturday night against Florida?
Yeah, I think so. There's always going to be people out there that's like, give Bo Allen a shot, or give, they shouldn't have run off, people think that they ran off Joey Gatewood or whatever, who's down at Central Florida now. There's always going to be those people. But yeah, to lose an old cliche, winning heals a lot of things, or takes care of a lot of things. And yeah, I think for the most part, people are still pretty excited, with Levis. Of course, he's making headlines off the field. He was on, I can't remember the name of the show. It's on the SEC Network with Alyssa Lang. They had this, he had the thing earlier this year about the, eating the banana peel and all. And then last night they were drinking poured mayonnaise and coffee, and we're drinking it on the show. You have to.
This one missed me. I don't know anything about this.
It sounds. I'm not a big coffee drinker anyway, but it just sounds totally gross. But anyway, it was you'd have to go back and look to get the whole story. But he's come in, and people have embraced him. He's got a couple of the NIL deals already. Kentucky Branded, who's a big thing here. They're selling his T-shirts and Wandale Robinson's T-shirts. But I think everybody is still on board with Levis, and I think I think with Liam Cohen, I think everybody's still excited about the offense. Those first 2 games, everybody kind of got spoiled a little bit with the 500 yards plus. But now, like I said, the last couple of weeks they've struggled, and you got to go. They got to get that back together, because you have LSU this week, and then you have Georgia next week. And I'm trying to remember the stat that I don't think Kentucky scored an offensive touchdown against Georgia in the last couple of years, maybe. So you definitely got to get everything in order. But as I said, 6-0, if they win on Saturday and go 6-0, you can forgive a lot of things by winning.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask you about Cavassier Smoke. You mentioned him a few minutes ago. Of course, Chris Rodriguez was one of the leading rushers in the SEC last year, and he has received the bulk of the carries. It was Smoke and Rose that were gaining much of the attention a couple of years ago. Then Chris Rodriguez is inserted into the lineup, and he takes off from there. I expected Smoke to be a larger factor in the offense. And it seems as though Rodriguez is pretty much the primary back and the go-to guy, period.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And, and the thing about Cavassier, he's kind of, Rodriguez is the run you over kind of a Benny Snell kind of guy. And Smoke is kind of that, not to say the opposite, but, he's kind of that, the flash, run around, as opposed to run through you. But I think, everybody, if you talk to everybody, seems happy, everybody would like to get the ball a little bit more, would like to get, more touches. But I think, right now they realize, like Rodriguez is the guy, whether or not he stays after this year and goes, because he could declare for the NFL next year. That's always a possibility. But no, I think, like I said, I'm sure he would like to have a bigger role. Right now he has 100, second on the team, 149 yards rushing, and one touchdown. And, but, and of course the thing about this, Rodriguez has had trouble with fumbles this year. And, you go back to that South Carolina game and Smoke played a little bit more for a while there when Rodriguez had those fumbles. And then when they got to the end of the game, they put Rodriguez back in and, had the old school, both hands on the ball. And, you're not getting the ball away from me. But yeah, I mean, I think, and I think it goes back to what we're saying. I think they're still in some ways trying to figure out how everything in this offense is going to work. So, it's only been 5 games and I know that's almost half a season, but still, I think there's things that we haven't seen with this offense. And I think there's things, still to come. And I think there's still a big role for Cavassier in this offense.
Do Kentucky fans seem to be pretty reasonable about the 5-0 start, understanding the hope, but also understanding that this team has to improve to challenge Georgia? Or is there a little bit of Georgia talk out there, even though LSU is the opponent this week?
Maybe just a little. I think given the history of Kentucky football, I think you can't really go talk. You can't look ahead to anybody. You can't look. You just be happy that you're 5-0 and excited that you're 5-0 and the first chance at 6-0 in 70 plus years, and then not to sound like a coach, but yeah, basically we'll worry about we get through LSU, then we'll worry about Georgia next week. So because then the schedule gets this month of October is pretty rough as far as Kentucky's schedule goes. You started with Florida, then you have LSU, then you go to Georgia, then you have the bye week, and then you go to Mississippi State. So those are the 2 games in the beginning of the season where I thought Kentucky was most likely going to lose. Georgia, and I thought Mississippi State, because we never seem to. I say we. Kentucky never seems to play well down in Starkville. And so those were the 2 games. And honestly, at the beginning of the season, I thought, just because it always happens, I did pick Kentucky to lose to Florida in the preseason because I had them going 9-3. But I will, my preview, I always have the right to change. I did have Kentucky winning on Saturday, so by about 6 points. So feeling pretty good on that one.
Yeah, I would think maybe the Georgia talk would be a little bit more prominent if Vandy was the opponent this week. But I think Kentucky fans, knowing the history against LSU, that even though the Tigers are having some issues, they're still a very talented and capable football team. So this is going to be a difficult enough opponent to deal with this Saturday.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. Yeah, you can't. Kentucky's not to the point really and all you have to do is go back to the Chattanooga game. Kentucky's not really to the point where they can overlook anybody, in football. And even we talked about even the coaches, said they overlooked Chattanooga. So, I said, I think I'm picking Kentucky. I think it's 24-17. That was that's my prediction. So we'll, which means, Kentucky would win and cover the spread too. So, which doesn't always happen a lot with Kentucky, but that's what I'm saying for Saturday.
Well, LSU had all sorts of trouble running the football against Auburn, only 33 yards and a little over 1 yard per carry. It was all on the arm of Max Johnson with 325 yards in a game that they controlled most of the way at home and then let slip away in the fourth quarter against Bo Nix and company. So LSU reeling a bit, but still certainly talented and capable. Again, missing one of the better defensive backs in the country, and Derek Stingley, and also Major Burns back there as well. LSU Kentucky should be an intriguing one. Anything else that we've yet to hit on?
No, not that I can think of right now. Anyway, like I said, just everybody. Everybody here is looking forward to the game. I don't think if Kentucky wins this one, I don't think anybody's going to be storming the field or tearing down, tearing down the goalpost. But it is just one other little quick thing. It is the first time that Kentucky and LSU played every year for like 50 years, from like the 1950s to the 2000s. And then when the, expansion and schedules, Mississippi State became Kentucky's permanent opponent. And then, so Kentucky's only played them 3 times in the last like 15 years. And the previous 2 were both in LSU, but you go back to 2007, which was the last time Kentucky hosted LSU. That was the day where Kentucky knocked off the #1 Tigers in 3 overtimes, which, one of the best, we voted it, or by we, I say me anyway, voted it Kentucky's all-time best victory. So, a couple years ago, I ran this little tournament that had people vote and everything, and that's what came out the winner. Even over the victory, excuse me, in 1950, that ended up giving them the national championship. But yeah, no, it's like I said, if Kentucky does what they do, they obviously they need to control the ball a lot better than they did against Florida. Keep the defense off the field, a steady dose of Rodriguez with Smoke, with the passing game. If Kentucky does what they can, and the defense plays like they've been, I said I think Kentucky wins, and I'll say by touchdown. So that's about it.
Two longtime members in the SEC, but as Kevin mentions, they don't meet very often. Only 2 matchups since that 2007 upset, 2011 and 2014. So it's been 7 years since the Cats and the Tigers got together. LSU leads the all-time series 40-16 with 1 tie. All right, Kevin, enjoy the game. Appreciate you stopping by, and everyone check out Kevin's preview on Last Word of College Football.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. And as always, it's great to talk to you, and look forward to maybe talking to you again next week before the Georgia game.
Absolutely.